Most people enjoy cheering for the underdog. It always feels special when the little guy is able to make it big. It might be in sports, music, or just a heartwarming success story of rags to riches. The gaming industry is no different, and that's why today we're looking at indie game success stories. If you haven't heard, Minecraft is a pretty big deal. It was designed by Swedish developer Marcus Persson, more commonly known as Notch. Persson received his first computer, a Commodore 128, when he was 7 years old, and drew from computer magazines to learn the basics of coding when he was still a kid. By the time he was 8, he had already created his first video game. Notch spent a few years of his adult life working in the industry for King.com, and by the mid-2000s he began working on his own projects. He was heavily inspired by another game called Infiniminer, and he wanted to create a building game that incorporated RPG elements. In May of 2009, Minecraft was released to the public for the first time, and the rest, as they say, is history. Players loved their experiences, and the game had already sold over 1 million copies by 2011, when it was still in early access. Since then, the game has sold over 100 million copies, and it continues to thrive even in 2019. Back in 2014, Notch sold the game's intellectual property to Microsoft for $2.5 billion. Not a bad payday for possibly the best indie dev story in human history. Team Meat consists of two independent game developers, Edmund McMillen and Tommy Refenes. They're best known for their game Super Meat Boy, the timeless platformer that has players take control of the cute little red cube named Meat Boy, as he takes on the forces of evil to save his beloved Bandage Girl. The original Meat Boy was a Flash game that McMillen had worked on over a period of 3 weeks back in 2008. It received enough traffic that he received interest from Microsoft and Nintendo. Shortly after, Team Meat decided to work on a sequel for their Flash game that would be a worthy homage to NES games like Super Metroid and Mario Bros. McMillen was in charge of level design and art, while Refenes handled coding. They began working on the game in early 2009, with an intended release date of first quarter 2010. As is frequently the case though, they weren't finished in time and received a bit of pressure from Microsoft to get the game right and do it in a timely fashion. Team Meat knew they still had 4 months of work to do by the middle of 2010, but they were running short on time and money. For the final 2 months of development, they worked daily, slept 5 hours a night, and frequently forgot to eat. A process that McMillen said he would never voluntarily go through again. All of the crunch paid off though, as Super Meat Boy was met with critical praise upon release and went on to become the biggest indie title of the year. Sales were strong, with nearly 140,000 units of the Xbox version sold by the end of 2010 and over 600,000 copies with Steam included by April of 2011. On January 3, 2012, Team Meat announced on Twitter that the game had surpassed 1 million sales. Since its release, Super Meat Boy has become a cult classic, and it's all thanks to 2 guys who were willing to go the extra mile to make their dreams come true. Go Team Meat! One of the most mentally stimulating games I've ever played is Stanley Parable. It has a great voice actor, a cool environment, and offers enough endings to keep several playthroughs interesting. Davey Wreden originally created the game as a free mod for Half-Life 2, but the game was so well received that he decided to bring on William Pugh, a Source Engine modeler, to help create a high-definition remake that was released in 2013. The game sold like hotcakes and eclipsed 100,000 copies within its first 3 days, far exceeding the developer's expectations. The remake went on to sell more than 1 million copies during its first year of release, making Wreden a very rich man at the ripe old age of 24. His idea to create a game that would mess with players' heads and get people to think about the consequences of their actions is one of the more unique indie success stories, and it's awesome that his creativity was so well rewarded. While there are plenty of amazing indie titles that have surpassed expectations over the years, we all know there's also those games on Steam that feel like a joke, or a cash grab, something to buy for the lulz. Well, that's where Shower with Your Dad Simulator comes in. The game's creator, Marbin, posted a GIF, or GIF, on Twitter as a joke back in 2015, but it actually took off and was picked up by several websites and gained an incredible amount of traffic. After seeing the unexpected rise of the Shower with Your Dad jokes, Marbin decided to actually create a game for it. A couple of 8-bit characters and plenty of lewd humor later, and Shower with Your Dad Simulator was ready for Steam. It took about 6 months and entered the market with a price of 99 cents. It didn't sell as fast as some of the other games on this list, but it eventually sold over 400,000 copies. Not a bad payday for a game that started out as a joke amongst friends. Personally, I don't have as much admiration for this entry as I do others on the list, but good on you, Marbin, for taking an idea and running with it. Don't spend that money too fast, or we might have to witness Shower with Your Dad Simulator 2019 though. Terraria has plenty of stuff to do in its procedurally generated world. Lots of crafting, gathering, side-scrolling, and adventuring provides players with a huge amount of freedom, which is reflected in how well this title has done over the years. The team that created it was made up of only a couple of people. It was called Relogic, and the guys behind this game really put their hearts and souls into it. The game has continuously received updates and continued improvements since its original release back in 2011. That constant love and hard work has paid off, as Terraria sold 200,000 copies in the first 9 days following its initial release, 432,000 copies in the first month, and it's currently over 27 million. That is an unimaginable amount for the guys who made it, and there's no doubt that this indie title drew in the big bucks like very few others have. People sometimes forget that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was released as an indie title. PlayerUnknown, real life, Brendan Green, had spent a few years working on games, but he envisioned a winner-take-all style of gameplay that he wasn't yet able to put into action. That all changed when he made the Arma 2 Battle Royale mod, which received a great deal of praise from players who were interested in things like DayZ and the Hunger Games. Green spent the next few years working on the mod and working as a consultant on H1Z1. Around the same time, a Korean-based studio approached him about creating a new Battle Royale, one that would focus on long-term development, games as a service, as it were. Development began in early 2016 and was publicly announced that June, with plans to have the game ready within a year. It hit early access in December of 2017 and took 2018 by storm. It created the Battle Royale craze and led to the success of other titles like Fortnite and Apex Legends. Green recently stepped down from his role as lead designer, but not before this game made him filthy stinking rich. It made $11 million in its first 3 days in early access, and within 3 months had sold over 5 million copies, and it did it faster than even Minecraft. Add to that cross-platforming, PUBG Mobile, and the rise of PUBG Corporation, and you have one of the biggest success stories in indie gaming history. Good job, Brendan. A few other honorable mentions that have changed the industry over the years are things like Gmod, Limbo, Bastion, Braid, Stardew Valley, and quite a few more. They're all very important, but my initial focus was to concentrate on indie titles that made millions upon millions of dollars. As I said at the beginning of this video, underdog stories are awesome, and what better way to prove that than by taking the market over by storm? The most impressive aspect of many of these games is their staying power. Minecraft is still going strong, which blows my mind when I think about it. But what about you? Which indie games that made it to the big time are your favorites? Drop a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please share it. It's the only way for us to grow here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.